Snow eats sound. That's the first thing I remember. The city went quiet, and my little sister Nia slipped out of our dead heater car and walked straight up to a stranger in a charcoal coat and said, "Mister, could I get under your coat for a minute? I'm freezing." And he didn't say a word. He just knelt right there in the drift, opened that coat like a doorway, and pulled her in, and in that moment, I knew something in our life had just tilted. I was half running, half sliding, already rehearsing apologies to the kind of man who dines behind gold doors, when the maitre d' from the Gilded Fig snapped, "You can't block the entrance, sir. This is a fine establishment." And the man with the coat lifted one finger to say, "Cut," typed on his phone, turned the screen to me. "Are you her guardian?" Then motioned to a warm black sedan sliding up like it had been trained to move without squeaking. "I'm Ava," I said, cheeks burning from cold. "And shame, she's..." "Nia, we're not okay." And he typed again, "Come with us, warm first decisions after." And I nodded, because pride is loud, until a child's lips turn blue, you know what I mean. His name was Julian Mercer, Harborview. Folks say that name like a landmark tower with his last name on it, a tech company on billboards, and something quieter he never bragged about. A foundation that kept eviction from swallowing families whole. He didn't speak, not anymore. An accident took his voice years back, so he typed, wrote or looked at you so steady, you heard him anyway. The penthouse felt like weather-turning heat crawled into our bones. Towels smelled like sunlight. Nia's hands wrapped around a mug like a small bird finding a nest. And when she fell asleep under a blanket pile, Julian slid a notebook toward me and wrote, "Tell me what happened." And I told him the short, gutting version, "Parents gone me at 29. A nurse with too many attendance warnings, because hospitals don't pause life for guardianship, rent that outran paychecks, car that coughed more than it started, pride that kept breaking and re-gluing until the cracks were the only pattern." And he wrote back, "Not a failure, a survivor. Systems break, people bend, so kids don't." And I cried the quiet way, the way glass does when the light hits just right. He offered help like a blueprint, not pity structure. One night to thaw, then a guest cottage behind his place in Northcrest for a month. A trial job at the Northbridge Foundation. Because apparently, making $10 feed 3 people and keeping chaos on a schedule is operations health insurance starting now. And I said yes with my whole shaking body because Nia was still asleep, and I wanted that to mean something. Northbridge wasn't photo ops. It was Camila counting receipts like prayer beads, Trent hauling mattresses up 3 flights when the elevator quit, Moki, Lynn translating medical bills from legalese to human people who had needed help, becoming the kind of help that understands. And at meetings, I kept my head down until Julian, sitting quiet at the end of the table, slid a note. "Ava, what do you think?" And when I spoke, the room shifted. It's a heat of its own when someone gives you back your voice. Not everyone clapped. Opponents. Wear costumes. The maitre d' reappeared at a donor brunch. Staff wait outside. He sniffed, and I said, "Calm. Every person you shoo into the cold is a story that would make you kinder." He rolled his eyes right off his skull, and then Julian stepped behind me, set a hand to his chest, then to my shoulder, then gestured me in first. No drama, just presence. Yeah, that happened. The second opponent wore a suit and a grin with teeth. Senator Paxton Kincaid, a man whose foundation loved cameras more than people. "So, you're the young lady Mr. Mercer plucked from unfortunate circumstances," he said, like charity was a hobby he'd outgrown. "I'm the woman Northbridge hired because I'm good at what I do." I smiled back, and he leaned in with that bootstrap sermon folks use to make poverty your fault. Julian drifted closer, gravity without threat, and the senator floated away to easier applause. Work turned into purpose, then identity, I pitched a housing bridge program that pays 3 months ahead instead of dragging 1 month behind because panic and planning are usually 30 days apart. Julian texted at 11:47 p.m. Fund it, and by morning there was a budget line where hope had been scribbled. Did I fall for him because he saved us? That would be too neat. I fell for the way his silence wasn't empty. It was attention, the way he wrote. Please, where other men write orders. The way he stood near and people recalibrated feelings came like sunrise, predictable. If you watch the horizon, surprising if you don't. Dinner at his place tasted like pasta and patient questions. I enjoy your company, he typed. I enjoy yours more than I should, I said. And we didn't rush the kiss when it finally arrived. It felt less like fireworks and more like remembering where you put your favorite coat. The big turn wasn't champagne. It was paper. After 3 months, he handed me a contract, 5 years at Northbridge. A salary that made me sit down, insurance locked, even if leadership changed, and a clause that knocked the wind out of me after 5 years. The cottage would be deeded to me and Nia. That's too much, I whispered, and he typed. It's the right amount of safe power, love's debt. I don't, we argued with pens and shaking laughs. And I signed not because of the house, because someone finally designed my life to be stable on purpose. Then the third opponent showed up without a face, a Monday morning email. The Kincaid Foundation was pausing commitments pending review. They were 30% of our budget. And in our pipeline were families with eviction clocks ticking like bombs. I stared at spreadsheets until the numbers bled. Julian tapped the whiteboard and wrote the 2-minute drill: triage, keep promises, freeze non-essentials. He'd hit major donors, I'd hit grants. Everyone else call every partner we've ever helped and ask what we missed. We moved like a unit. Late one night, the senator called me himself. You'll have to scale down, Ms. Monroe, he said, in a voice that had never seen a cut-off notice. People need to learn to weather storms. I hit speaker. With respect, storms don't care about discipline. They care if your roof leaks, he chuckled. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. And I read Julian's message. He had just slid across the table. We feed ourselves. We feed each other. We're not hungry for your approval then. He hung up without goodbye, of course. A day later, Mr. Halverson's soft-eyed money, worn like an old sweater, asked, "How much to keep people housed?" This quarter, I showed the number. He nodded, fine, like ordering lunch. The whole shrank. 2 emergency grants, I wrote. Hit back to back, Camila cried into her spreadsheet. Trent whooped so loud the building manager texted 3 question marks, and for the first time in 2 weeks, I slept without shoes by the door. That night, Julian came over with hot chocolate and a small, heavy box. He typed a long message, then hit send, so his words would live in my pocket. The night I opened my coat, something opened in me. I like being your boss, your neighbor, your home. May I be more inside. The box was a deep blue stone like the sky. Right after snow stops, my yes wasn't loud. It was certain. Naya exploded into the room with hair like a comet. Are we getting married? And I said yes. And she screamed into a pillow to keep the neighbors from calling the cops. Before we told the world, Julian asked for something that made me cry in the car. Adoption papers if Nia wanted it, and if I did not, to replace, to stand where he already stood. The judge glanced over the file and said, "Easiest decision I'll make all week." Nia asked if a hyphen could hug both last names. We all laughed. And on the courthouse steps, we took a photo that felt like a home deed for our hearts. The wedding in his backyard was small and honest. Mums thick as quilts, string lights warm as soup. I read his vows because my voice was ours, promised to be his voice when he needed one, his quiet when he didn't. Nia scattered petals like she was paying the ground rent, and we danced the kind of dance you do when a life stops bracing. We could have faded out right there, but real life hates tidy bows. A columnist published a think piece a week later. Billionaire's bride was his employee. Love or leverage. They quoted an ethics professor who had never cashed out a gas card to get to work. They quoted the senator, big on appearance of impropriety, small on accountability. Our boardroom got tense enough to steam glass. Julian typed what he always types when it matters. Transparency. First, he proposed that I keep my job, but report to a subcommittee without him, independent audits on the programs I'd built. And then I said what I had to say. If protecting the mission means I step down, I will silence then. Camilla slapped the table so hard, coffee jumped. We do not punish women for surviving and succeeding. Dr. Maylin nodded. Trent said things you can't say on the internet, Mr. Halverson sighed. Let's not pretend a professor knows more about decency than a kid who asked to be warm. The board adopted every measure. We took it public at a town hall, and a man in the back said, "Seems convenient? Job house husband with a tower, and now you sign checks with his money." I walked to him and told the truth. "You're right. It's convenient. Convenience is a heater that works a caseworker who calls back 3 months' rent before the notice shows up. I got convenient after 10 years of inconvenient, and now I hand out convenience like oxygen. If that makes you uncomfortable, I'm okay with that because it means we're doing something that matters enough to argue about." He stared, jaw tight, then nodded, fair. We kept going. Northbridge opened a second site. Naya plays Saturday duets and calls Julian Dad like she always meant to. I wrote a book that sounds like a kitchen at midnight, and somehow strangers hear themselves in it. And then the twist you came for the Kincaid Foundation wants back in with a big multi-year offer and a condition that I take a sabbatical while they advise on organizational boundaries. Half our board says, money is money and kids need heat. Half says a bad partner costs more than they pay. Julian won't vote. He typed, "We promised to be transparent and brave. That might mean letting money walk. It might mean me stepping away instead of you. I hate both. I love you. So we're here sitting with a decision that will make some of you cheer and some of you furious. So tell me, should we take the money if the strings are ugly, but the apartments stay warm? Should a woman who fought her way up step aside to make optics neat, while the man who cut the funding gets to look noble? Or should folks clutching pearls in the back row sit down and learn what decency looks like? Drop your take in the comments. Tell me what you've seen, what you've lived, who opened their coat for you when winter tried to close in. And if this hit you anywhere real, like share with the cousin or coworker who's in a storm right now. Subscribe if you want to see what we choose, because in our house and at Northbridge, kindness doesn't whisper, it knocks, it steps inside, it stays.